Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another engaging session in our Bender U webinar series. I'm Jillian Bender-Cormier, Head of Culture and Engagement at Bender Insurance Solutions, and we're delighted to have you with us today. In this session, we'll tackle a critical goal for every employer, preventing workplace injuries and reducing workers' compensation claims by 35%. It's a topic that impacts not only the safety of your team, but also the overall success of your organization. Before we dive in, here are a few housekeeping notes to keep things running smoothly. If you have questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A section at any time. I'll share your questions with our presenter throughout the session and keep the discussion interactive. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A at the end. If we don't get to your question, don't worry, we'll follow up with you afterward. To minimize disruptions, all participants are in listen-only mode and will remain muted throughout the webinar. This session is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording along with a copy of the slide deck after the event for future reference. We're thrilled to have a distinguished expert sharing with us today, and to introduce them, I'll now hand things over to our Vice President of Alternative Risk Markets, Roland Gillen. Take it away, Roland.
Thank you, Jillian, and good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Josh Butler. Josh is the founder and CEO of CompScience. Josh, who I have known for, I think, 4 to 5 years, is an accomplished entrepreneur, product developer, and distinguished career. He's had a distinguished career in AI, autonomous systems, and business transformation. He is a former product leader of intelligent systems with Facebook and NEO self-driving program. Josh is now on a mission to make work safer for employers and employees by way of transformative tech and AI. And before we jump into the slide deck and the presentation, I'd like to ask Josh to maybe share a little bit about his story, why he started CompScience. Josh?
Thanks, Roland. You've been just an incredible partner, honestly, since we got going as an MGA insurance company a few years ago. I think the story for CompScience really starts when I was back at NEO working on their self-driving car platform, running that product team. And I'd probably still be working on it. It was kind of a dream job, but then the one day what happened was my father-in-law, who worked in construction for many years, he had an accident while performing a critical lift with some heavy machinery that he was using to place some HVAC equipment. When his crane flipped over, he was ejected and disabled. And going through that sort of recovery and the subsequent disability was really the experience that kind of inspired me to think, like, could we use that same technology that we're starting to see on the streets in like Waymos, in self-driving cars around San Francisco, and now in Austin with Tesla, with the robo taxis, like that perception technology and the risk management technology. Could we use that to like really understand workplace risks better, get it into the market today with a very practical analytics product, and pair that with insurance? I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves. When you can drive down injuries by 35% in the first year, like we do for all of our customers, it means that we're having real impact, and that's what really motivates us as a company here. So it's thanks to Roland and Bender Insurance and really really thoughtful brokers in the insurance industry that see the future of where technology is going and can really like have a real impact on not just like dollars and cents, but also the human impact. It's guys like you, Roland, that really make this possible. So thanks for having me today.
You're more than welcome, Josh. Thank you. And, we have a great agenda, but first I'd like to open up by talking about and if you want to flip to the next slide, Josh.
Yep.
The workers' comp program. So when I had the opportunity to partner with the CMTA, which is the California Manufacturing Technology Association, CMTA, excuse me, It was about, designing a work comp program that drove down claims, but it also drove down costs. And the first call was to Josh and his team at CompScience. And Josh is an MGA, and we partnered with CMTA, AmTrust, Bender. And as you can read on the slide, this is an exclusive program for California manufacturers. AmTrust is one of the largest work comp carriers and providers in California, third largest nationally. And the program speaks for themselves, a 10% CMTA credit, but more importantly, the technology that Josh is going to talk about to help manufacturers drive down costs. And we will come back to that program towards the end, but now I'd like to turn it over to Josh. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Roland. Yeah, let me dive right in. So what I'm going to talk about today is how this insurance technology, some people call it insurtech, actually is really kind of transforming the value that insurance companies can offer their clients, the policyholders. What we do is we bundle in this visual AI and various tools that we've built with the insurance for like no additional cost. What that means is you get to drive down injuries, and you also save money on software you might otherwise have to buy. I'll share some case studies about the impact this is having for other manufacturers and construction as well, and then we'll talk about sort of what's coming next, what's coming down the pipeline. So first, I'll lead with this is the most important statistic of everything. The most important data point is we drive down injuries by 35% on average across over 200 customers we work with today for everyone who uses the software. These are just a few logos of companies that are sort of leaning in on technology for safety with us, and they're using the systems today, like Tesla, Honda, DHL, ConAgra, Toyota. Obviously, these are name brands that everyone's heard of, but there's 200 more that are small and medium-sized businesses across California and the United States that are also getting the same sort of benefits. And the reason we actually got insurance in the first place is because we knew this was the best way to get the technology to small and medium-sized businesses without having to charge extra for it. We actually are able to sort of we take a small piece of the premium to pay for the technology, the services on our end, and the development of the technology, and we make money when injury rates go down. That's really how it works. So what is that we're doing? Super high level, we have a privacy safe system that doesn't track individuals. What it does is it pulls video from existing camera footage, like CCTV cameras, inside your facility. Almost every manufacturer and most businesses in general have some kind of camera systems in place already today, and the quality and the coverage is usually better than people realize. We apply artificial intelligence to understand the movement of people and equipment inside those facilities, to understand the hazards. And then we generate a whole bunch of insights through tools and reports that we provide about 50 or more different hazards and hazardous conditions and activities that we're identified that we can see in the video, and we make it available to you in a way that's really easy to understand and easy to act on. So the systems we've built have actually we've been working on this for about 6+ years now, and we've built, like I said, over 50 different types of hazard detectors. They're across over 96% of the causes of workplace injuries. So if you look at like ergonomics, we're looking at just how much activity is happening, like how much lifting, pushing, pulling is happening. We're looking at awkward postures. We're looking at are people able to take breaks, environmental factors, things like that. We're looking at are there exposures around like forklifts and struck-by risks? Are there traffic pattern issues? Are there elevated objects that could fall on people? We're looking at, are there slip, trip, fall hazards like debris, like general housekeeping? Are there Is there any floor maintenance issues or like ladder usage? And we make this all available to you to better understand the risks in your facility. We even help with understanding if there's like equipment damage, like for instance, like collisions with between forklifts and cargo, um, spills, fallen cargo, things like that. So really a super comprehensive set of detectors. And honestly, none of this would have been possible like 5, 6 years ago. But with the evolution of visual AI with self-driving cars, we've been able to create like a really comprehensive picture of workplace risk. I think one question that it's really worth diving into early is like, what are the ethical considerations around a system like this? This is using AI for safety. There is, um, there's questions around like privacy. Um, what does it mean to monitor activities of workers in a workplace? And it's something we've looked at. We've obviously thought a lot about what are the expectations of workers. Is there an expectation of privacy in a workplace? Generally, when you look at regulations and sort of privacy, like like the conversations going on with regulators and um, uh, frankly, everything from GDPR to like CCPA. Um, there's a general assumption that in the workplace that you will be supervised, and on top of that, most companies already have camera systems in place. So we don't actually ever we don't install new cameras. Generally, we're using existing cameras. Um, so we're not usually introducing any new kind of like privacy uh, issues. We do ensure that we don't do any kind of like facial recognition or identification of individuals, and that's the one thing that's that's critical here, and that this is used really purely for like understanding systemic risk, safety risks, and being put to use to actually keep people from getting hurt on the job. Right. Security is another one. Everyone's always asking, or everyone wants to know, like, is my data safe? Um, we are SOC 2 certified, so that's a sort of a general standard of cybersecurity. So we can certify that we've got all the right safeguards in place to ensure that like data is only available to just those people who need it, and that we have all the right like cybersecurity precautions in place. And then I think a last question that often comes up with this kind of technology is like, am I opening myself up to new liability if I discover things that need to be fixed? I actually just presented with a workers' comp judge for the board of the workers' comp board in Tennessee just last week, and we had a great conversation about this. And the gist of the conversation was basically that, like, independent of whether the issues have been flagged or not, the liability really already rests on the employer anyway, because workers' comp is a no-fault system. So whether or not you know about the hazard, the liability does rest with the employer. That's what's kind of it's one reason that the workers' comp system has been as successful as it has at driving down losses. What we're able to do is help you actually document that you're taking steps to make the workplace safe, that you're training people, and that you're creating an environment where you're basically where you're creating a safe environment for your employees. So those are just a few ethical considerations, and happy to dive in if anyone has any more questions about these. But let's dive in and share some examples of how companies are taking advantage of the technology today. So this is just a great company we work with. Peerless Products. They're a window and door manufacturer. Many of you may have heard of them. They do a lot of aluminum and glass work. They really pride themselves on creating a safe work environment, and they used our technology to understand across all their facilities, where are the highest risks for slip, trip, fall, for caught in, for ergonomic hazards. And let me share a little bit of what we found, because we were able to drive down their exposure by over half. So some of the examples of where we were able to see some wins were first around on the ergonomic side, the high risk postures. Second, around line of sight. Line of sight is when you're driving like a forklift or a cherry picker and you can't see in the direction of travel because of the cargo. And then finally, another ergonomic related hazard around overhead lifts. We were able to drive down by 95% the work overhead there. I think the story that really stands out is actually related to this, the photo over on the top right. You can see that guy there. He's sort of standing upright, working on a glass door there. When we first started working with them, we generated some heat maps that showed that a lot of exposure from bending over, so basically back stress, and no one had ever he had never said anything, but you could tell that he was working from the heat maps we had. You could tell he was working all day long in sort of a bent over posture. And when we brought this up and we recommended changing the orientation of the work so he could actually do the work standing up straight, he ended up sharing that he had like upper back and neck pain for the last few years of his life, and had gotten so bad he couldn't even play with his kids when he would go home. But then once we changed the orientation of work, it really changed the whole experience for him. He was able to be in a neutral posture, and the back and neck pain went away. And he actually shared a really touching story about how now he could experience life differently playing with his kids at the end of the day. So it was something where he had never thought about sharing this before, but we were able to see that there was an obvious issue that would probably turn into a chronic back issue that would be honestly one of the most expensive types of injuries that a company might encounter, and avoid that and totally change this guy's life. That's the kind of just an example of the kind of the human impact of what we're doing here. Let me talk a little bit more about the technology and what is so exciting about what we're doing today. I'm sure everyone here has had a chance to play around with like ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot. If not, highly recommend it. It's incredible what these tools can do. Large language models essentially have scraped the entire web. They have access to most of what you might call like human knowledge. And they can really make sense of like raw data, like anything from injury reports to video feeds to work plans to policy documentation. And the question is, how can we make these available to California manufacturers to keep people safer and to drive down risk? There was a study that was done actually on the right here. There's a study that was done about a year ago. Someone did an IQ test on ChatGPT, and it actually showed that it scored 155, which is like off the charts. Einstein was about 160. So you can imagine, like, if you have all that knowledge and that level of intelligence, you can do some pretty impressive stuff, right? Here's an example use case, actually, a personal use case. These are cartoons that I generated using ChatGPT to tell the story of how I dislocated my shoulder a couple months ago skiing up in Tahoe. I also broke my ankle here. It was the first time I'd done anything like this, where I basically had a bit of a tumble on the slopes and ended up, relatively severely injured. After the first visit to the clinic, which was actually really tremendous up in Tahoe, they gave me the X-ray and a brief diagnosis of the fracture and the dislocation. I took the X-ray and a photo of the one sheet that I got from the clinic, And I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I asked it basically, what does my recovery path look like? What's it going to look like to, get back to 100%? And it thought about it for about half an hour or so, and it pulled up a whole bunch of literature, like like um, uh, first party studies and all of that from medical journals. It diagnosed the fracture actually in the X-ray. It diagnosed it correctly. But what was most important was it gave me a sort of a recovery timeline, and also an understanding of what the different paths to recovery might look like, depending on how the conversation with my orthopedic doctor went. So when I went in with to talk to the orthopedic surgeon, I had a pretty good idea of what I was likely to see there, and basically what questions to ask. And I will say, like after that, 10-15 minute consult, which is very, very short with these orthopedic surgeons these days, after that 15 minutes, I left with a whole lot more peace of mind than I would have had otherwise, because there's just only so much information that you can exchange in those really short visits. So this is just a great example of how these tools are helping, not just with the prevention piece that we do a lot of, but also helping people understand like recovery and return to work strategies as well. So let me sort of open up a broader question about like what if we could use these tools as an agent, that could kind of be watching over people at work, in a way to how can we protect people best with these tools, right? Um, the tools that we've built actually have scraped all the safety literature, including like high energy hazards. These are the kind of hazards that have been identified that can cause severe injury and fatality, which is a real focus for us in the safety industry today. They know the National Safety Council severe injury fatality prevention model, which we've collaborated with the National Safety Council on. They know OSHA regulations, all the OSHA regulations. They know those. They also know a lot about chemicals and the safety data sheets associated with all the chemicals that people work with every day. So like, what if you have this sort of general kind of intelligence that understands all of this, what can you do with it? Let me show you a little bit of an example of what we've built. So first, there's predictive analytics. I'll go ahead and share all these. First, predictive analytics. As this technology has gotten more and more advanced, we've been able to build more and more advanced systems. The first one was predictive analytics. It was basically, we still do this, but you look at, the history of injury and incidents. And in fact, we layered in the video inspections that we do as well. So almost like an inspector coming through and trying to understand like where are the hazards just based on a visual observation. We do the same thing, but we're able to create these heat maps, and they're super valuable for just sort of saying, okay, we can, based on history and some of the activity that we're seeing, where are we likely to see the next injury? Great. So those can be used for proactive interventions. But now, what if we actually made this real time? What if we create a system that can immediately alert someone in case of a really unsafe situation? Like, for instance, you can see here a construction site for a steel erector that we work with. What it can flag here is there someone underneath like a suspended load that shouldn't be there, or if they're maybe on the edge of a leading edge where they could fall, there could be like a severe fall. We can detect that kind of a thing. We can make those conditions of, we can bring those to the attention of like the safety manager or the supervisor. And then, but here's what's really exciting for me. The latest the latest evolution in these large language models is making it possible to create what I call safety agents. And safety agents are really about driving culture. It's about driving knowledge to the edge, especially for those sort of like newer on the job that are still learning about, what are those high energy hazards that I need to be worried about, and how can I appropriately control for them? So this is a really exciting area that I'll share a little bit about in a minute. Here are a few examples, just so you can kind of grok a little bit. What are the kinds of things that we detect and see in these visual inspections that we're able to do. We have examples in warehouses where people are kind of doing the best they can to get to where they need to work. In this case, it's a cherry picker, and just unfortunately not using appropriate fall protection and standing on a pallet at heights here. We have an example of a forklift driver who had trouble stopping in time and ended up losing the forklift off the edge there. We have examples in manufacturing where basically we're able to track the movement of cargo. Forklifts themselves, you can see sort of hazard levels in real time on these and some of these boxes. Also, just looking at like all the different objects we're detecting. You can also see here in an automotive service center some heavy lifts that over time will definitely lead to back and shoulder issues. There are a lot of ways to get around these heavy lifts with the right equipment. So just a few examples of what we see in the video and what we can share with operators. So when you have access to video like that, so what can we what kind of products can you make that can help people keep employees safe in the field? This is a really exciting product that that we built originally for high hazard construction, but which actually works really well for manufacturing environments too, given the high hazard environment. We tap into pretty much any kind of camera on the ground, and we're seeing like most construction environments do actually have cameras already on site now, mostly for security reasons. But we can tap into any camera. We can also send a camera. These days, you can use 4G, 5G connectivity. They have solar panels, and we're able to create both schedule reports and real-time alerts, like text alerts to cell phone, with where you see like we send an image of what we're observing, and also a specific notification describing the activity that's activating our trigger. This is an example of a customer using it. Jack Nix here on the top right. He's the president of the Steel Erectors of America Association. It's the biggest association of steel erectors, and frankly, everyone in that industry has had severe injuries. It's very high hazard work. They're building bridges. They're building giant buildings. You can see here a worker on a scaffold without visible harnesses. What he loves about this is that it actually helps him create a new way to drive accountability across all of the different sites they're working on every day. They're probably on 15, 20 different sites in a given day. And he knows when he gets his daily reports and these notifications, he knows that his safety manager is having the right conversations with the foreman and the supervisors on those sites when he goes there. It's a way for him to know if they're having the most powerful, most impactful conversations they can have when they're on site, because they can't be on site all the time across all the different sites, right? Here's another example of an app that we've built that is actually a mobile experience where you can take photos of the environment and have it identify the hazards in that environment that need to be controlled for. I'll show you in a second sort of how this app, Safety Brief, which is built around the National Safety Council's severe injury and fatality prevention model. It can help manufacturers in particular that are doing sort of high hazard, non-routine work. I'll share that in a second. Here's another use case actually, where specifically using this app, you can take photos of chemicals and it will automatically recognize the chemical or any chemicals in the object that you're taking a photo of. Say it's like a battery. It'll identify that the chemicals And it'll actually assess the toxicity and the reactivity and any incompatibilities. Like for instance, chlorine, bleach, and ammonia. You never want to mix them, right? Or it creates this toxic gas. This is a great way to push that knowledge into the field as a tool that makes it really easy to identify the chemicals you're working with.
And Josh, we actually have a question that's come in.
Oh, great.
If this technology can tap into cameras already on site, does this mean it can be integrated with our pre-existing security software?
Exactly. Yeah. We've one of the challenges, one of the hurdles we had to surmount, I guess, as a company early on was figuring out how to integrate with all those different types of camera systems. There's probably 50 in the market, so we've found ways to work with all of them, and we can either do a live integration or we can do a batch integration, depending on what manufacturers are looking for.
Thank you.
Yep. And I think that was really critical. It's like we wanted to make sure that you don't need to install new hardware basically to work with us. If you want to add new cameras, we can help you figure out what cameras to buy and where to put them, but generally it's not even needed to get started. Thanks. And now this is sort of actually this is my last product slide for everyone, and it's something I'm really excited to share. We've been working hard with ConAgra and Tesla, two leaders in safety. ConAgra is one of the largest food processing and production companies in the United States. They have about 5% of U.S. food production. I think we all know Tesla. The leaders of these two large manufacturers are working with us to implement best practices around severe injury and fatality prevention into a mobile experience using this visual AI that helps manufacturers, small, medium, and large, ensure that when high hazard maintenance work, sanitation, engineering work, when that work is being done, that there's uh, a deep understanding of the hazards that people will be exposed to and how to control for them well. So the idea is eliminate the administrative burden basically that's associated with filling out spreadsheets and filling out um, a bunch of forms, and just help people understand as efficiently as possible what are the shows that I've properly controlled for hazards. So step one is quick risk prediction. So if you have a list of jobs that need to get done, with just the descriptions of those jobs, we're able to come up with a risk score. Is this a high risk task or is this a low risk task? If it's a high risk task, maybe this deserves some more attention. Then as you get on into action, you can use the mobile app that we've created. You can, and with just a description of the job and a couple photos of what you're going to work on, it actually creates a safe work plan. That safe work plan engages the worker in understanding the hazards, but also the controls that should be put in place, and allows them to sort of check off that they put the right controls in place. And then last, one part of the process that a lot of safety managers, it can be a significant administrative burden for safety managers, is generating the job hazard analysis. Some people call them JSAs. We can actually generate those JHAs using the safe work plan and help make sure that you have the right documentation in place so that there's a solid SOP, standard operating procedure, the next time someone has to do this job. And so super excited to bring this to market. It's really thanks to these two great companies out there and their leadership that we're able to bring this to the small and medium-sized business market as well. All right. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Roland.
There I am, navigating technology, Josh.
There you go.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for just an awesome presentation. And I'll just kind of share my personal take on this. The reason that we partnered with Josh and the CompScience team is safety, and it is very important to Bender and our clients and our business community. And we find that partnering with CompScience is a differentiator in providing an alternative solution for those who are on the call today and within California and so forth, in the variety of industries that we serve, construction and manufacturing and public works. Specifically, coming back to manufacturers, CMTA, we have a great partnership with them. What this means for California-based manufacturers is have partnered with AmTrust, again, third largest work comp carrier, over 300 class codes in wood and metal and plastics and a variety of other manufacturing industries. And there is no need to be a CMTA member to receive the quote or the proposal with the 10% credit. Once you receive the proposal, then you can make the determination to say, is the savings enough to invest in being a CMTA member? And I should say the CMTA does offer a variety of programs, and workers' comp is just one of them. But I thought about maybe just sharing a quick little tidbit about a client of ours, and I won't say the name, but we did make the presentation in April of this year. They made the decision to move the coverage to AmTrust under the CMTA AmTrust program, and their savings overall was $8,462 based on the CMTA credit. And that cost of the membership was $990. So I just share that with you because I know that's probably a question that some of you in the audience have. And obviously we have a QR code. We will be sending out the slide deck and a recording in the presentation. And Josh and I are available to answer any questions you may have. I know we're going to close it out, and I think we have a couple more minutes, but just like to just AI as a whole, Josh, can AI is so new to many of us, probably not you
Mhm.
and your team, but can you just maybe share a couple of tidbits where our audience could start to explore AI? If it's,
Yeah.
Chat GPT, if it's whatever the case may be for manufacturers, just share maybe a couple tidbits for us to take away.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a million places to start. One is you can use the safety brief app that I mentioned here. It's available free on our website. That's one. You can always go there, try that, take a few photos of the work environment, and you can get some insights into how we think about controlling for risks. It's basically training people on the severe injury and fatality prevention model from National Safety Council. That's a great one. Another great one is check out either Copilot by Microsoft. If you have Microsoft software, just about everyone has Copilot set up by default in the operating system, or ChatGPT, and you can ask it simple questions like evaluate my return to work policy. Is this a good return to work policy or not? Upload your return to work policy. Let's see what it says. Um, you could say something like, what are some great topics for toolbox talks? I want to make sure we have a quick safety moment at the beginning of each day. Like, give me a list of topics I could talk about. Choose a topic and ask for an actual outline of the discussion. That one's a great one. I think, yeah, I think those are a couple great examples that have come up, in my conversations. I mean, there's in my last was it last Thursday? I was talking to that workers' comp board of Tennessee, and it's full of attorneys and doctors and um, claims analysts. Um, some of the use cases they were bringing up were around like legal research. Attorneys use ChatGPT for legal research all the time now. They're like, tell me what's the case law look like in cases of you know uh, injury in the job, or I mean, doctors. My own doctor was using it when I was getting evaluated in a consultation around my shoulder dislocation, and he asked sort of what are the considerations, and what's the likelihood of redislocation, uh, after an injury like this. The list goes on and on.
It is amazing. It is
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you, Josh, and we will turn it over to Jillian to close us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a couple of questions that have come in that I'd love to share with you, Josh. Do you have any feedback from the employees themselves about the integration of the tech from a privacy or injury prevention tool standpoint, for example, specifically with manufacturing industries?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I was on site at Tesla just yesterday, actually, and I was sharing the story about Peerless, and that the guy who had upper back and neck pain up until um, we observed it in the data, had a conversation about how to change the work and all that. And I think the first response was, this is from the line manager. He's like, I think we have that everywhere around here. I think there are people working in pain all around us, and they don't feel like they can act, they can like they just think that's the job. And I mean, they were really excited about the opportunity to be able to bring the benefits of a system like this to the line there. Um, I think that there are people who there's plenty of there's legitimate reason to uh, you know think deeply about how do we introduce this technology in the right way so that you're driving the right conversations, and being transparent and not making people feel concerned that they're being monitored, and maybe this is going to be used for discipline, or maybe this is going to be used for uh, I don't know, like to push people harder. I mean, people with every new technology, there's always ways to use technologies, inappropriately, in ways that are harmful. Whether it's a telephone or a TV or anything, right? Every new technology, there's pros and cons, right? Um, I think things to consider. It's like, one, you should already be informing employees, if you have cameras in place, that there's recording happening. That you should already have signs for that. It's really easy to find signage, like on Amazon. If you don't have signs that say like you're being recorded, that's probably already happening in the workplace, right? But make sure you're being really like upfront and forward about that. And then have a conversation when you're thinking about rolling out a new safety program with us, where you say, where you have this new technology. Very clearly, this technology has been designed so it cannot be used to identify individuals, and it will not be used for disciplinary action. Our purpose here, our purpose here, very clearly, is to make sure we have the safest work environment we possibly can, and we're committed to that. And when people understand why, and you have that conversation up front and early, then honestly, they lean in, and it's very rare in cases like that. And when people have that conversation up front, that we get hear any pushback from workers.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Another question that's come in. How are claims professionals and attorneys currently using AI to manage and analyze medical records and claims data?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's happening really fast. I think we're seeing a lot of the systems, claims management systems that claims administrators use are starting to use AI for really, really valuable use cases. Like, one, summarize the history of this claim. Just give me a summary really quick so I can get give me the context of this claim. A claim can last years sometimes, right? And each time someone picks that up, it's probably been months since they've worked on it. Just getting the context of that claim is it can be like, it can take 20, 30 minutes. So a quick summary of the claim history can be really really valuable. Another one is like identifying trends. Like what is the like if I look at the all the different claims that are coming in um, um, over the last like 2 3 years, how does this benchmark against other companies like me? Um, how do we like are we seeing more ergonomic injuries than we should? Are we seeing more slip trip fall injuries than we should? What can we do to prevent those from happening in the future? Um, Another one would be understanding whether employees are tracking well against the expected recovery path. Are they so they're these systems can identify, so you can give them like the nature of the injury, like say like dislocation. Um, it will give a pretty standard recovery path, like it did for me. It says it takes about 2 to 3 months basically to get back to full operating kind of capacity, right? And what would a return to work program look like? So you can use that to compare and benchmark about how is this claim evolving? Is this person getting the care they need? Are they healing like they should? Or is there some kind of intervention that needs to happen? So those are just a few ways that we're seeing people using this already. For the attorneys, it's show me case law. How is is there specific case law I need to be concerned about or that I should be aware of? As we're preparing for this litigation, and like um, is there even anything we could do to help settle this earlier? Maybe with even I think actually this is the last point. There's one of the most important things when managing claims is ensuring that we're providing the right care with empathy to workers. It's hugely predictive of the outcome in the end. And we can and these models are actually really good at identifying whether they're getting the care at the time they should, as well as is there empathy in the communication with this worker. So that's one that I'm actually super excited about implementing for our customers soon, and we're actually actively working on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and just take this one last question. What are the biggest challenges you've faced in getting employers or carriers to adopt this new technology?
Yeah. I think it's been evolving. I think honestly, I think a few years ago, we had challenges with were there enough cameras in place? Was there bandwidth and network connectivity and all that? I think most of that's gone now. I think we generally have very good connectivity um, for most manufacturers and generally good camera coverage. I think that um, I think that people are generally quite seeing a lot of exposure to AI like ChatGPT and Copilot, at least in the last year or so. That's happening very quickly. So I think a lot of that kind of like familiarity with AI and what's possible with it. A lot of that is actually being addressed now. Um, I think that the privacy questions they do come up, and it's just important that we have a good conversation about how to communicate about this effectively, so that we can get this technology, to the front lines where people need it most, so we can start driving down injury rates. Um, and I think that it's sessions like this, Bender U, where we get to have the conversation to educate manufacturers about what's possible now, and the benefits of pushing forward with technologies like this, that are going to actually, um, you know, educate the market and get us to a place where like everyone has access to the latest and greatest like safety technology.
Fabulous. Thank you, Josh. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate topic for us to be teaching for June, which is National Safety Month. Thank you so much for your time. If you wouldn't mind, Josh, progressing to the slide that's
Ah,
about our next class, I'd love to share with all of you We have our next vendor you up next. We have emerging alternative risk trends. It's about captives. It's very important. A really riveting topic for a lot of folks who are looking for alternatives and different options for their insurance programs. That's going to be on Thursday, July 17th, hosted by Roland, and from 9:30 to 10:30. If you want to scan that QR code, that'll take you right to the registration page, and you can get signed up right away. But thank you again, Josh and CompScience, for sharing with us today. We appreciate you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's Vendor U. As a reminder, this session has been recorded, and both the recording link and a copy of today's slide deck will be emailed to you following the webinar. Should you have any questions, we understand that tends to happen, that arise later on, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. Thank you again, and we hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Roland.
Thanks for having me, Jillian. Have a